This is a tutorial I like to talk about material in VR. This is a really important topic because if you don't have an efficient way to create a material, you will have very low frame rate and the latency later, or even the shader will not be recognized when you render this in VR. Before I start, I just want to highlight a few tutorials for basics of material. The first link you probably should want to take a look is XRBook. This link, you will see a chapter, I believe it's a chapter 6, to talk about material. Make sure you're reading that, also the PDF. Besides this one, there's another one is for Twinmotion to Unreal 5. This is more towards the high-end screen-based VR. It's not head-mount displayed VR. So there's some Twinmotion material. I covered how to transfer from Twinmotion and how to use Blueprint to swap the material. But all of this material are sort of advanced for ArcViz rather than the VR for head-mount display. And also in our project, if you recall, we actually have a folder. This is called starter content. This is added directly by using add, right? Feature from content pack, then we add it from here. However, I would say the material here is not really optimized for mobile VR, so you will have some issues if you're really using these shaders. In fact, if I just go ahead open one shader for you, let's say any of them, double click, you can see the complexity of the nodes just make the shader very difficult, right, to be rendered in an effective way in the mobile VR. There was a really good pack in the Unreal Engine 5. I believe the name is Mobile VR, a mobile material. It's not here in the UE5, but I have this already in my older version of Unreal. This is Unreal 4.27. If you see here, I have a mobile starter content. I have quite similar materials here, right? But if I double click, you can see this material does not include that crazy amount of nodes. So it's much easier. The mobile VR is able to understand. If you open, you see they all have a very simplified shader network. Okay, so what I will do now is to just simply give you this mobile starter content. The best way you can sort of migrate content is by right click and click migrate. So that includes every single nodes within this folder. Textures, materials. That's quite a lot, right? So what I will do is click OK. Then I will target to the new one. So later I will push this into GitHub and you will have it. So I will put it into the VR5 content and click select. Right, so done. So that basically I copied 250 files from my current Unreal 4.27 into Unreal Engine 5. Again, right click, migrate. Right, this is the best way. Then let's go back to my Unreal Engine 5, and I should see this folder right here: mobile starter, architecture, maps, materials. Right, it's all here. If I double click, I see the shader. Right, it's much easier or simplified compared to the another architecture starter content. So maybe let me do this. I will actually get rid of this old one. So later I will push to the GitHub. You don't really have this high resolution complicated shader network. I think for other shaders or other textures, they're probably the same. But let me just go ahead delete this. To delete the folder in Unreal is just right click. You don't want to delete directly in the file manager. Just right click. You can delete right here. Right. So assume you don't have any objects in your current level using this material. If you do, you will see a warning message say, hey, do you want to delete this asset because you are using this asset? For me, I do not using this in my current map, so I can say force delete. But you do want to be careful, right? Sometimes this could crash the engine if you are actually using those content. All right, so have some warning, but I think this is something related to the sound files, the interconnection between those assets. Okay, so once you delete the folder, I would recommend you save file, restart the engine, so it will purge anything from the memory. In case there's some cached file still reference to the starter content. Okay, so I will let it clean the folder. This will take a few minutes. Then I will restart the engine. Okay, so after I restart Unreal project and I actually delete this again twice. So you see that starter content folder is gone. I only have this material starter content. Okay, so this is a pretty clean project. So I'm gonna do next is to simply talk quickly how this shader can be used or can be manipulated here for the mobile VR. So the first thing, I mean, the best way to learn is just take a look at this mobile starter content material, how this looks like. So I will start with a really basic one. Let's say a break. Do you have a break? Yes, we do. So double click the break. You'll see this is a basic shader. They only have base color, which is this break image. It has roughness, which is a value you can control the amount of roughness and the polishedness of the reflections there. And also you have this normal map, which is connected to a normal image. Okay. You can refer to my other earlier tutorials how to create this normal map in Photoshop. You can actually using the filter to do so. But it's really, really basic, really simple. All right. Um, and this is opaque, opaque material, which you can see basically from the uh, node. You can tell this is a surface, this is opaque. Okay. Another feature you want to pay attention is the two-sided. This one is off. So in Unreal, it's only rendered once. This could save some rendering time. Right? This is an opaque material. If I look at another one, let's see, this break is very similar. Right? You got this kind of base color, roughness, and normal. It's all somehow linked to to a basic shader. If you want something more like reflective, for example, this metal, double click, you can see the metal like this. Right? One thing I like to point out is in the mobile VR, reflection is a kind of expensive way to render. So the reflection is not really ray trace based. So just let you know, it's kind of not accurate when you do the mobile VR. But this is how the base color, the metallic feature is controlled by one value, and the roughness is very low, right? It's controlled by another value, right? So this is how this is being calculated. The LERP basically is a mathematical concept. It created two, it is like a range, right? Within this range, you have these values start the minimum and the highest. Then you're using this value to kind of transform all the values between this range, within this range. Okay, so this is reflective. Metallic is 1, roughness is very low. Okay. Then let's take a look at another one, which is a glass, transparent glass. Okay, and this one, the difference is in the surface. This part is not opaque; it's translucent now. Okay, it's also is one side. You do want to be careful. Anything transparent in mobile VR will be expensive. There's actually an article here. Later, I can share this with you guys. It's talk about the limitations for material for mobile VR. What type of material is something you should be careful. In general, anything translucent or transparent would be quite expensive. So if you can keep everything as opaque, that'd be nice. But you could, have a few objects as translucent or even masked. That should be okay if you don't have too many of them. Okay, and also this is the typical properties you can manipulate in the mobile VR, like base color, roughness, metallic, specular, normal, emissive, refractions. All right. So let's go back to my material. I think we have this basic one. If you really want to create your own material in the future, I can show you a few quick way to do so. But before that, I want to show you one more material in in this VR template. But let me move these objects a little bit away. By the way, if you want to move objects, using W, right? This is move. If you think this manipulator widget is too small, I believe you can hold in Control and right bracket. You can increase. Um, so you see this is a little bit better, larger now. Alt right bracket. All right, so this is a little bit larger, and I will just drag it. I will probably put this not, on my way. So drag this one close to the edge. Okay. I'm not worried about rebuilding the light. Just keep that in that position. Then I will go ahead, check out this material. So this is a blue box, browse to asset. You can see this is a box directly under content, level prototyping, meshes, right? So this is the box. If I check the material associated with the box, this is called solid blue. If I click browse to asset, right, this button, you can see it's under the material folder, and here you can see a bunch of materials. Plus you can see the texture folder, there's some textures. All right. If I roll over my cursor, you can see this guy, the name is a material instance, which is a pretty useful concept or method when you do the mobile VR. No, actually, any Unreal material. Instance is the concept of a parent-children relationship, right? So the parent of this guy, if I double click, you can tell is a blue color, but it also has a parent. This parent is called mSolid. So here, if I browse, right, let's just docking this on the top. You can see this is the parent. If I roll over, you see the name does not have an instance, right, associated with it. So this basically became the parent, give all the features to the children. Yeah, another way to say is the children will inherit all the features from the parent. So if I double click this mSolid, which is the parent, you can see the standard shader network. Right? And it has a base color, it has a metallic, it has a roughness. But if I click these features, right, this is the one single value between 0 and 1. You can give the values. The default value is 1. This default value is 0. And base color, if I click, right, it has a base color, it has a solid value, right? This is basically, you can define a gray or whatever color here. And also, if you really pay attention to it, it has this orange color called parameter, right? So basically, in Unreal, you can promote a variable as a parameter. So, for example, right-click, you have this option to promote. Since I already promoted I don't want to re-promote, but I can show you this is a really great way. You can create one shader, and this shader can be used to create multiple children. In the future, all the children will have these 3 parameters they can tweak, right? So if I click, you see this parameter name is a metallic, This is called parameter name, the roughness. It has a default value. Okay. It also has this kind of range, right, between 0 and 1. This one is between 0 and 1. And this color basically the 3 vector different RGB values. And then in the future, I don't have to save it. If you create a children, right, from this parent, these children automatically have these 3 values: base color, metallic, roughness. If you check, you are able to manipulate these 3 parameters. So from the VR compile perspective, this is more efficient. It's only count this as one shader, right? With multiple instances, it's just much more efficient. All right, so I will show you from scratch how to create this kind of parent-children relationship. In the future, if you do have something you like to, manipulate or promote, you can definitely do it. So let's start with a really simple one. So since I already have a solid, right? So if I want to do a new children of it, I can just simply right-click, create a material instance, right? And I give this kind name as I don't know, maybe I want to have something as a red color, or maybe something as yellow, since I have something red, right? So this is called yellow. Double click, it automatically have this base color. I can check, I can choose yellow color, right? This is from that parent. Easily you can define the color, and also you can check the metallic and the roughness, right? If you want to make this one really shiny, I will give metallic as maybe 0.9, very high, and roughness very low, right? Maybe 0.1. So it gives you that kind of yellow color, metal-ish feel. So I save it to have this new yellow material. I did exactly the same way for this red color one. I think the roughness, maybe I want to give, yeah, this is a little bit too extreme. It's almost like a mirror. I would like to reduce a little bit. Okay. All right. So I have this new material. If I want to use it, for example, to this box, I can, drag it to this place. Now you have this, very polished, reflective yellow metal right there. Okay. In some cases, if you want to create your own parent, right, you don't want to just using the parent from the existing template, you can definitely create a new material. Instead of create an instance, you create a new material. So I will give this name as a parent solid, right? I just gave a name solid. Let me just make sure the name is spelled right. Okay, so parent solid, right? So you have this really basic one. And here, if I want to create a color, I will click 3 and the left click. 3 means you want to create a 3 vector parameter, right? Node. So this one is basically define a color, right? And it has RGB values or 3 vector values. So I can give a color by default is a grayish, color. That's it. So now if I save it, right, you got your basic nodes. And for these nodes, if I right click, right, I can promote or convert this into a parameter. Right? I can give this parameter a name, let's see, color. Right? And also I can give something, oops, I think I accidentally typed the C, means comment. I don't want to do a comment. Yeah, I want to actually just change the name right here. Color. Okay, so it has one parameter, name is color. That's it, right? So yeah, let's just go ahead and create the children from this guy. So this is the new one, right? So right click, I can create a material instance. So this is called P solid instance. Let's give this guy name P solid green, for example. Right. So this is the children of the parent. If I double click, right, you see the interface is like this. Right. It automatically understand you come from this kind of hierarchy. The P solid is a parent. You have this single parameter is called color. You can check. You can change this to something green. Right? That's it. Right? So I save it and I close. So you create this kind of new relationship. It's really cheap. In VR, this is mobile VR. This is a preferred way. In the future, if you do want to promote some other parameters, for example, you can hold in one click, you create a new vector. I will give this vector called metallic. I hold in one click again. I give this guy name as roughness, right? So now I have these two parameters I can control. So I will just go ahead, right click, convert to parameter. I give this guy name is metallic, and this guy I right click, promote to parameter. I give this guy's roughness. Let's say rough. Okay. Maybe I want to promote another one. It's called emissive color. I think this could be nice. So I'm holding one. And actually, emissive color should be RGB, right? So let me delete. So that should be 3. Click. So this is emissive color. And I right click, choose emissive. Right. And also, I like to make sure the color has the power, right? So by default, it's really weak. It's only 1. So I will just say M, holding M, click. So this means multiply. So I will holding 1 again, create another one. And so this is a value about the power or the intensity. So I think we can promote this one to a parameter 2. That's called intensity. Okay. I will give the default value a little bit larger. Let's see, 100. You need a lot of power to make the emissive color visible. All right. And the default color, I will give the emissive as, I don't know, maybe purple or something. So default value, I'll give a purple color. All right. So that's basically the new parent. Then I will go ahead and save it. Well, maybe I should give the default value intensity as 0, because I don't want this be too big at the beginning. But I want to give the maximum value as 100, maybe 500. Right? So the power can be bounced up when it's needed. But the default one is 0. Yep, I think this would be good. So I save everything. So I save this to the P solid, right, and close it. You see what happened is for the children, the P green, if I double click, automatically, right, the children will recognize, hey, there are some new parameters showed up. So that's really nice, right? So you can actually manipulate any of this. Intensity is metal and roughness. I think I should make the roughness default as 1, so it's not giving me these kind of reflections automatically. So let's do that. All right, so the roughness by default is 1. Okay, so I will change that. But slider minimum 0, maximum is 1. I think that would be a good range. For the metal, the same thing, right? Between 1 and 0, and the default is 0. Okay, so it's kind of like a clay, right? Not much reflections. Yeah, I like this better. So now if I go to the green, right, you have this default. So in some case, if you do want to bouncing up, right, the metal, you can click roughness, and then I will give metal really high. I want to give roughness really low. Right, you have this kind of reflective, super nice green metal. And if I want to turn on the intensity and emissive, right, I can, intensity I will give, I don't know, 100. So this will become pretty bright. Emissive color, I don't know, green maybe. Right. So I have this emissive color as green. The reason you don't really see the green show up, that's interesting. It might because the intensity is not high enough. Well, let's try that. I will just simply apply this to object. So let's save all, right? And then I will apply this to this, yellow metal. Okay. So now this will have this really bright color now. All right. So we have this glowing material. The reason you don't really see it glowing is because in the settings, project settings, we didn't really turn on the bloom. Bloom is a concept. It's kind of like uh, make the bleeding of the lighting from the shader into the environment. So by default in engine rendering, I turned this off. But again, this is something we have to check in a mobile VR because glowing could be a very expensive thing. We have to check later. But for now, just check the bloom. So now if you close it, you can see the bloom show up, right? Apparently this is a little bit too strong. So here I want to, dial back a little bit, maybe to 50. Save it. I can docking this on the thing. So that's the kind of bloom green light for that shader. Okay, so this is mobile based. I will do another one really quick for translucent or transparent glass. The best way you can actually try is just mimic or learn from the mobile starter content in a material. There's already a glass. You can see this glass is super cheap. Maybe I don't have to demo. You guys could figure it out by yourself. It has a single parameter called glass, color glass, right? You define a grayish color. Then specular, yes, glass has some kind of specular. It has a very low roughness, it's mirrored, right? And it has opacity, which you can define as a parameter. So this could be semi-transparent, right? You can define the value here. The most important part is just make sure the node you have to define the surface as translucent right here. Okay. I also have some tutorial on the masked material, but I will leave this to you to watch in the future by yourself. You can have an alpha channel, control the transparency, so you can have perforation, for example, for the shader. But keep in mind, both masked and translucent material are kind of expensive, so you don't want to use them too many, surfaces. Otherwise, you will suffer the low frame rate. Okay, so I will leave the glass here for you. Again, if you want to duplicate an instance, right click, you can create material instance, right? And you can give this name, I don't know, this could be a red glass or could be, I don't know, yeah, let's give a red glass, why not? So this is the instance, a children of the parent, and here you can check the color of the glass. I can give the color as red, very red. Okay, I can also check the opacity. I don't want this be too, you know, transparent. Just a little bit. Well, let's give 0.8, right? So you can sort of see the impact to that shader. So I save it. So now, if I want to use it to this glowing box, I can just drag and drop, right? So is a red color glass. You can see a little bit through from this glass. Okay, so I think that's it about all the. Probably it's a good idea to relocate to drag this into my customizer folder. So everything I created will be in a TM folder. So drag, move here, right? So this will be clean. Everything here is did by myself. All right, I hope this tutorial will be helpful for you to figure out how to create multiple materials, and you can definitely see the benefit to have it in a kind of mobile friendly kind of setting. Um, yeah, I think that's it. I think I forgot some of the materials still left in a level prototyping folder. So let me just simply relocate. I select both of the one I created. I will just simply drag and drop into TM folder. I will say move here. You don't want to copy here. All right, so this is all the new stuff I have created. Just want to make sure you clean up your folder each time you work with. I think I will leave the other right here. Okay, so shader tutorial. Just keep in mind the mobile VR shader need to be really simplified. You don't want to have too complicated node network. That will be a pretty low frame rate and a latency.